So reproduction in plant is taking place by two methods. First one is asexual reproduction and second is sexual reproduction. See, in the previous visual class we discussed about the asexual reproduction, which involved vegetative and asexual structures. And now we are going to see how sexual reproduction takes place in plants. What is the difference between asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction? Asexual reproduction is a kind of reproduction where sex cells are not involved. We know sex cells are gametes. No gametes are involving in asexual reproduction. Then what is involving, what takes place, or what is which part is taking place in the asexual reproduction? Asexual reproduction, in vegetative reproduction, vegetative parts involved in the reproduction or propagation, and some asexual spores like conidia and fragmentation, oidea, like that, there are certain structures, they are also involving in the propagation. So asexual reproduction does not involve gametes, but it involves vegetative structure or special asexual spores. And now let's come to sexual reproduction. In this session we are going to discuss about development of male gametophyte and associated structures. So sexual reproduction in lower organisms and sexual reproduction in higher organisms, higher plants. How is the sexual reproduction in lower organisms like algae and bryophytes? Takes place. They produce gametes. The process of production of gamete is called gametogenesis. Male gamete and female gamete, and fusion of gametes. Next is fusion of gametes. That is called fertilization. So these two processes are common to both lower and higher organism. In algae and bryophyte they produce gametes, anthrozoites and egg. They fuse, and the fusion product is called zygote. The process of fusion of gamete is called fertilization, zygote. And the fertilization in the higher or lower organisms like algae and bryophyte is affected by the motile or non-motile gametes. Motile, flagellated and moving. Non-motile, non-flagellated and not moving. Motile gamete, if they are motile or non-motile, whatever it is, there are three types of gametongenial fusion, gamete fusion. One is isogamy, anisogamy, and third is oogamy. So sexual reproduction in lower organisms is affected by three methods: isogamy, anisogamy, oogamy. Isogamy, similar gametes, morphologically, physiologically similar gametes. Fusion of morphologically and physiologically similar gamete is called isogamy. Anisogamy, morphologically dissimilar and physiologically similar gametes. Fusion of morphologically dissimilar and physiologically similar gametes. That is called anisogamy. Then oogamy, fusion of morphologically and physiologically dissimilar gamete. You see, this is anthrozooid, this is a egg. Structurally, functionally, they are different from each other. So these are the three methods of three types which involve in the reproduction of lower organisms. See whether the same method is adopted in higher organism. No. Here in a lower organism, the fertilization is external. Fertilization is external. In higher organism, fertilization is internal. Internal fertilization. So, sexual reproduction involves fusion of gametes. In lower organism, it involves fusion of gametes. This may be isogamy, anisogamy, or oogamy. In higher the fertilization is external. In higher organism, only eugamous type of sexual reproduction is taking place. Oogamous type, where the male and female reproductive structure, namely gametes, are dissimilar in both aspects, morphologically and physiologically, and the fertilization is internal. This is the introduction about the sexual reproduction. Let's see what is a flower. So flower is a very conspicuous clear structure found only in angiosperms. Where from it comes? See, it is produced by the time when reproduction takes place. When reproduction takes place, the vegetative shoot is modified into a reproductive shoot. The reproductive shoot is called flower. Reproductive shoot is called flower. So, flower can be defined as morphologically, flower can be defined as a condensed, modified shoot meant for reproduction. So it is a condensed and modified shoot. It is for reproduction. There are 4 whorls in an angiosperm flower. Typical flower, there are 4 whorls: calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium. See, calyx and corolla are accessory whorls. Androecium and gynoecium are essential or necessary whorls. Why do we call these calyx and corolla as accessory whorls? Calyx and corolla, calyx is the first whorl, which is usually green in color. Corolla is variously colored. These 2 whorls of the flower are not taking part in the sexual reproduction directly. So their part is also there, but they are not involving directly in the sexual reproduction, so they are called accessory whorls. And androecium is the male part of the flower and gynoecium the female part of the flower, which are directly taking part in the sexual reproduction, and so they are called essential whorls of the flower. And now let's see the participation of androecium and gynoecium in the process of reproduction. See, in the reproduction there are 3 processes. One is changes that are taking place. One is pre-fertilization changes in the flower. Second is fertilization. Third is post fertilization changes. So before fertilization, the flower has to prepare itself, and after fertilization some changes are taking place in the plant during sexual reproduction. These are the three processes which are taking place during the reproduction, sexual reproduction. Pre-fertilization changes in a flower. Before fertilization, what happens? By the time when reproductive season starts, the hormonal and structural changes occur. That leads to the formation of and development of floral primordium. Floral primordium is not a flower. This is a structure which is going to produce flower. In a flower, we would see, as I said, there are 4 parts. At the center you will see the gynoecium, that is 4th whorl, and 3rd whorl is androecium. Outside that is corolla and calyx. So this is calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. These are the 4 whorls in the flower. Now we will take androecium. Male reproductive part. The male reproductive part is androecium. So androecium is a collection of stamens. Stamen is made up of 2 structures. One is anther and filament. This is filament. See, anther bear the microspores, which actually happen to be the male reproductive structure in the plant. So microspore, development of microspore takes place inside the anther. Let's see now the development of anther. Development of anther. See, previously there is a complete mass, the mass of tissue, conspicuous mass of tissue that is surrounded by a single layer of cell assumes the anther. So mass of cells, and more or less it is not lobed, it is more or less a shapeless structure. It forms a 4-lobed structure. After some time it forms a 4-lobed structure. spore lobe structure. Each spore lobe structure is covered by a single layer of cells that is called epidermis. In this homogeneous mass of cells, there is one or two rows of cells which are one or two rows of cells at each lobe. Is becoming conspicuous, and it is provided with a dense cytoplasm, and it enlarges itself, and that is called archisporium. That is called archisporium. So archisporium is the first cell which produces the reproductive cells further. The archisporial cell divides. Archisporial cell, if you assume that this is the archisporial cell, divides periclinally and produces primary parietal cell outside, and inside primary sporogenous tissue. Primary parietal cell outside and primary sporogenous tissue inside. Now this primary parietal cell is produced outside. So primary parietal cell is found in between the epidermis and the primary sporogenous tissue. So what happens afterwards? Primary sporogenous tissue divides periclinally and anticlinally. Periclinally, anticlinally produces these following tissues. Their names are endothecium, then middle layers, and tapetum. So tapetum, endothecium, middle layers, and tapetum are produced by the primary parietal cells. Then primary sporogenous tissue. Primary sporogenous tissue involved in the production of male gametophyte, that is male cell. It involves the further division. It involves in the further division. That is called microsporogenesis. So genesis of microsporogenesis. Microsporogenesis. What is microsporogenesis? Production of microspores. Production of microspore from the microspore mother cell is called production of microspore, haploid microspore. The process of production of haploid microspore from the diploid, microspore mother cell is called microsporogenesis. This structure microsporogenesis takes place inside this anther after when it assumes a four-lobed structure, when archisporium divides into primary parietal cell and primary sporogenous cells. The sporogenous cell divides and produces a tissue from which microspore is produced. During the genesis of microspore, what happens? Primary sporogenous tissue divides mitotically and gives rise to sporogenous tissue. The sporogenous tissue, the last generation, this is the last generation of the sporogenous tissue, is called microspore mother cell. This is shortly called MMC. The microspore mother cell involved in reduction division. Microspore mother cell involves in reduction division and produces 4 tetrads, 4 microspores. 4 microspores which are usually found in tetrads. They are not separated in the primary condition. They are called tetrads, spore tetrads. In most cases, the 4 tetrads, microspore tetrads, after the wall formation externally, will be separated to form 4 microspores, like this. 4 microspore. In some cases, like allotropes. Some cases like allotropes, there is the microspore or tetrads or pollen grains are found in groups. That is called pollinium. What is a pollinium? Pollinium consists of 3 important parts. One is the group of microspores in a sac. This is called pollinium. And a thread-like structure and a knob, clamp. A clamp or clip and a thread and a pollinium. These 3 are in the inverted Y shape, and this is called translated. This is called translated. The clamp-like structure is called corpusculum, and thread-like structure is called retinoculum. And the entire structure is called pollinium, and this is found in the case of allotropes. In most cases, the pollen grains are separated. Let's now see the generation, all these things in a diagram. This four-lobed structure grows and produces matured anther like this. See, this epidermis, parietal cells epidermis. Next to that is the endothecium. and next to endothelium some middle layers, and next to middle layer is tapetum. So we'll see what are they. This is epidermis and endothelium and middle layers, and tapetum. So tapetum is the last layer. See, this goes in all places like this, all layers. You can see the same structure throughout this except this place. This is connective. This is connective. TS of anther. See, we have drawn a TS of anther here. The TS of anther, it consists of 3 parts. Number 1, pollen walls. Second is connective, and third is a pollen sac. So pollen walls. The pollen walls, as we have discussed, there are 4 layers. One is epidermis, second is endothelium, third is middle layer, and fourth is tapetum. We'll see one by one. So epidermis first. See, epidermis is single layer that covers, see here, the epidermis is a single layer that covers the entire anther. This is the TS of anther, structure of TS of anther. Single layer which covers and gives protection to the anther lobes, gives protection. Gives protection to the anther lobes, and it divides anticlinally to cope up with the enlarging. When the pollen, the anther grows bigger and bigger, the single layer should also cover the entire surface. So it divides anticlinally and covers the entire surface. This is about the epidermis. The next is endothelium. So endothelium is a second layer. See it, the cells are radially enlarging cells. Radially enlarging cells. In their radial and transverse walls. Radial and transverse walls, there are alpha cellulose, sometimes lignin are also present. The radial walls. So these radially elongated cells, radially enlarging cells, and in their transverse walls and radial walls there are alpha cellulose and lignin that supports, that gives strength to that. And these cells are hygroscopic in nature. What is hygroscopic? that which absorbs water and enlarges. So this nature will help in the dispersal of anther after pollen grains afterwards. So hygroscopic in nature. These endodermal endothelial cells or endothelium is not found in extreme parasites, saprophytes, Callistogamous flowers, and also in aquatic plants. Aquatic plants. So this differentiation of endothelium is not found in these plants. And you see in this also at the region of stomium, this region is called stomium. At the region of stomium, endothelium is absent, the stomium. Where is the stomium present? The stomium is present in each lobe. This is anther lobe. Anther, this is a bilobe. Anther is a, see, anther is a bilobed structure. Anther is a bilobed structure. In each lobe there are two theca. Theca 1, this is first lobe, this is second lobe. Two theca are there. So this is if you add everything, you will get 4 theca. And 4 theca, each theca is called sporangium. And so this is tetrasporangiate. This is tetrasporangiate. So in this tetrasporangiate, sporangium number 1, sporangium number 2, sporangia 3 and 4, in every lobe 2 sporangia are there. The sporangia meet at a particular point. This point is called stomium, where endothelium is absent. And this is also hygroscopic in function. It helps in the dispersal of pollen grains. Helps in the dispersal of pollen grain. So endothelium is specially helpful. It gives mechanical strength and also helpful for the dispersal of pollen grains. Middle layers. So next to the endothelium there are 2 to 3 layers of cells, that is called middle layers, and they are epimeral. They are epimeral in their activity. So they are disintegrated and disappear after the pollen grain is developed. So this layer is epimeral. And what is the meaning of epimeral? Epimeral means it will be there for some time. Afterwards its content will be absorbed and so that will disappear. So epimeral is over. Next, fourth is tapetum. This is one of the important layer, fourth layer, tapetum. See, tapetum is the innermost layer. It is produced by the time when 4 spore tetrads are formed. It is produced by the time when the 4 tetrads are formed. It nourishes sporogenous tissue, microspore mother cells and pollen tetrad. So its function is, the function of tapetum is giving nourishment. And where from it is produced? It is produced by connective tissue of anther, and also peripheral layers of the peripheral layers of the anther wall. So its protection is a dual in nature. Its protection is dual in nature. And what is other points related to the tapetum? Tapetum is a monokaryotic. Monokaryotic in the sense having only one nucleus. After some time, it may become polynucleic or multikaryotic, polynucleic. In some cases, all the nucleus fuse to form a structure which is called polynucleotic structure, become polyploid. Polyploidy can also be seen in the cells of tapetum. Now, what does it produce? It produces cell walls for the pollen grains, sporopollen. Sporopollenin is a wall material, another wall material. Then pollen kit. And some other related proteins. Especially meant for, or wall materials meant for the external surface of the pollen grain. So these are the things related to the tapetum. Tapetum is again a layer which disappears by the time when all anther are developed. Tapetum are of two types. One is secretory. Secretory tapetum. What is secretory tapetum? The secretory tapetum is otherwise called parietal, cellular, or glandular tapetum. Now, what is special with this? This secretes materials and supplies the material to the pollen tetrad or microspores, and they are structurally stable. They will not change their structure, but secrete something, and the secretions are supplied to the cells, developing cells. Then second is invasive tapetum. Invasive tapetum is otherwise called periplasmodial tapetum. Periplasmodial tapetum. Here, what is happening in this? Here, walls of the tapetal layers disintegrate. Walls, radial wall and tangential wall disintegrates, as a result of which the protoplasm of all cells come together and coalesces, form a common mass. this common mass of protoplast ooze out towards inside, that is utilized by the developing microspores. So these are two types of tapetum. Now let's see the functions of tapetum. Number one, giving nourishment to the developing microspore. Second, produces sporospolene. So sporopollenin is the important wall material required for the exine, and this sporopollenin is formed by the supply of UBs bodies. UBs bodies from the tapetum, that UBs bodies are utilized for the production of sporopollenin. And third is pollen kit. And this is another wall material produced by the tapetum, and it's oily, and it forms the external coat to the pollen. The pollen. And fourth is there is a rejection reaction. What is rejection reaction? When the pollen grains fall on the stigma of a flower, sometimes the stigma rejects certain pollen grains. The material for that rejection is found in the exine of the pollen grains. Such rejection material, which is made up of actually a protein, is secreted by the tapetum, and that is found in the external or outer wall of the or exine of the pollen grain. So to conclude, it gives nourishment to the developing microscope. It is useful for the production of sporopollenin by supplying UBs bodies. And third, it supplies pollen kit, which is also a wall material which covers the pollen grain, outer surface of the pollen grain. And fourth, it helps in the rejection reaction by producing certain proteins which are found in the or which are kept in the exine of the pollen grain. Over. Then third, so we have talked about pollen walls. There are four types of pollen wall: epidermis, endothecium, middle layer, and tapetum. And pollen sac, see the pollen sac here. Pollen sac is a structure which has a wall and a cavity inside. Primarily the cavity was filled with the sporogenous tissues. These sporogenous tissues divide mitotically to produce the spore mother cell. The spore mother cell or microspore mother cell divides meiotically to produce 4 pollen tetrads. So all these cells or tetrads then develop into pollen grains, and all these things are taking place in the cavity. So as far as the pollen sac is concerned, or cavity, this is a cavity filled with pollen grains. Then connective. Third is connective. So this is connective is found at the center of two lobes of the anther, and it is a sterile area or vegetative area. It is a vegetative area which has vascular tissues, which supplies water and nutrients to the entire anther, and it also contribute for the development of tapetum for little extent. So this is over. So we have seen the TS of anther, in which we have discussed the structure and what are the things involved in that. So the microspore and pollen grain, for a sense, look similar, but they are a little different from each other. So the immediate product which develops from microspore mother cell is called microspore. By reduction division is called microspore. So microspore is the first male reproductive cell which has only two coverts. One is intine, another one is exine. This is intine and exine. So two layers, that's all. No sculptures, no additional structure found on the wall, in which there is a nucleus at the center and cytoplasm is densed. This is called microspore. So the immediate structure that which is produced by the reduction division from the microspore mother cell is called microspore. Microspore is the early stage of pollen grain. By development, the microspore is converted into pollen grain. So we will talk about the first wall. The pollen grain, actually we can see the structure of pollen grain. When it develops, the external exine is becoming ornamental, and now it becomes a complete structure like this. This is intine now. By the accumulation of or deposition of wall material on the exine. Or the wall materials are poroplenine, pollenicate, like that. We'll see intine first. Intine is the inner wall of the pollen. Intine is the inner wall of the pollen. It is thin and smooth. It is made up of 5 substances, namely cellulose, hemicellulose, callose, pectin, and certain other proteins. And it is continuous layer, this. Then exine. Exine is not continuous, so this may be smooth or rough, maybe smooth or rough, and it is made up of, the wall is made up of, the wall is made up of cellulose, sporopollenin, pollen kit, etc. See these exine. See, like this exine is not a continuous layer. This is germ pore. See, exine contains germ pore. What is germ pore? Germ pore is the place where the secondary wall, that is exine, is not found, and that is the place for the growth of pollen tube. Sporopollenin is not found in the place. If the germ pore is long, that is called furrow. that is called furrow. And the exine, nature of the exine. It may be smooth or cultured, as I said. May be smooth or cultured. The sculptures may be rod-like, grooved, having grooves, or sometimes warts, and this. And this way there may be different pattern of decoration or sculptures, decoration of sculptures on the wall. So that gives a different shape and a different texture to the pollen grain. The exine gets a different shape and different structures. So because of the decorations or sculptures found over the exine. And so what is the necessity for that? See, this different pattern of in the structure helps for the identification of species. This is very special to every organism, species, and also helps in the classification of plant. Helps in the classification, identification of species, and also classification of plant. And the shape of the pollen grain also vary. Shape of the pollen grain, the shape may be globose, or spherical, or ellipsoid, or globose, ellipsoid, ridged, angular, lobed, like that. It goes like that, and it is variously shaped. The shape of the pollen grain, and sometimes spindle like. The shape of the pollen grain also vary plant to plant, species to species. It is one of the important characteristic feature that it also helps in the classification of plant, classification and identification of the plant. And the size of the pollen grain ranges from 10 micrometer to 200 micrometer. Pollen grain with 10 micrometers are found in Myosotis. In Cucurbitaceae and Nyctaginaceae. See, the size of the pollen grain is 200 micrometer. Let's now talk about the sporopollenin and pollen kit. Sporopollenin. Sporopollenin is one of the important wall materials which is found in the exine of the pollen grain. See, it is produced by the cytoplasm, external cytoplasm of the pollen grain, and also by the tapetum, tapetal layer. So tapetal layer and cytoplasm of the external cytoplasm of the pollen grain is contributing the sporopollenin. See, it is made up of carotenoid. It is made up of fully carotenoid. And what way it is useful? See, there is biological and physical decomposition. Decomposition for the pollen grain. It prevents or protects from the physical and biological decomposition of the pollen grain. So sporopollenin is that much, and it helps to resist high temperature, strong acid, alkali, and some enzymatic action. What is the meaning of that? See, high temperature, strong acids and alkali and enzymes will not affect the pollen grain because of the presence of the sporopollenin. So sporopollenin creates resistance for all this. And in fossil records, there are pollen grains without decomposition. That is because of the presence of sporopollenin. Sporopollenin makes the pollen grain to be preserved for a long time in fossil records. And at last, when sporopollenin when pollen grains are traveling from anther to stigma, there are certain mechanical forces that may cause damages to the pollen grain, and this presence of sporopollenin prevents the pollen grain from the mechanical damages created during the travel. Next is pollen kit. Which is found in the wall. Pollen kit is produced by tapetum. This is a wall material produced by the tapetum, and it is yellow or orange in color. Yellow orange in color, and it is produced from carotenoid. It is made up of carotenoid and flavonoids. Carotenoids and flavonoids. And it is a oily, viscous material that covers the pollen grain externally. It becomes an external cover to the pollen grain. So what is the use of this pollen kit? Pollen kit is useful for attracting insects. And also protects the pollen from UV radiation. See, microspore is the first cell of the gametophyte. Microspore is haploid in nature. It is the first cell in the gametophyte, in the male gametophyte, first cell of the male gametophyte. first cell of the male gametophyte. So how will be its nature? What will be its nature? So we know that it is a spherical or globose or variously shaped structure with exine and intine. This is exine and intine, and certain places there are germ pores. These are germ spores, germ pore. You see at the center there will be only one nucleus and with dense cytoplasm. This is the stable nature of a pollen grain. When in due course, when gametophytes start developing, it assumes the nucleus is pushed aside and some vacuoles are created. The nucleus is pushed aside. And afterwards, the nucleus divides into two. Nucleus divides into two and produces a big cell and a small cell. The small cell is called generative cell and bigger cell is called vegetative cell. This is called the two cell stage. The pollen grain with the two cell stage is the gametophytic stage, and in most of the angiosperm the pollen grains are liberated at the two cell stage. Now 60% of the angiosperms, in 60% of angiosperms, microspores are liberated at the two cell stage. Two cell stage. You see here there are two nucleuses. One is generative cell and another one is vegetative cell. The vegetative cell, as the name indicates, it is a bigger cell and it has nutrients which can be supplied to the generative cell in due course. And if this pollen grain reaches the stigma, apt stigma, what will happen? If this is a stigma and ovary, the pollen grain reached, what happens? See, the pollen grain absorbs nutrients or substances from the surface of, absorbs water from the surface of the stigma and enlarges in size. Enlarges in size. By this time, we'll take the diagram here. By this time, the vegetative cell forms a tube. Vegetative cell forms a tube and it starts growing like this, in this style. So vegetative cell goes inside and it will be at the tip of the pollen tube. So pollen tube, the intine. So intine grows as pollen tube. The vegetative cell comes inside and now it is called tube nucleus. Now it is called tube nucleus. And by this time, the generative nucleus divide mitotically, produces two gametes. So these are male gametes. These two male gametes are approaching, and when the pollen tube reaches the embryo sac, the pollen tube, the tip of the pollen tube is disintegrated and the tube nucleus also disappears. The two gametes are liberated in the embryo sac. One will join with the egg, another will join with the secondary nucleus. One will involve in the production of the embryo, another will involve in the production of endosperm. So in this way, the walls of the pollen grain help in the production of gametes also. So far we have discussed about the sexual reproduction, in which we talked about the androecium, anther, structure of anther, what are the anther walls, what are the nature of the anther walls, and the development of male gametophyte, how it forms, and up to that. And if you want to read further details, refer the text.